I'm sweating. Sorry about it. But I am 12 feet away from the closest student other than Ashel, but we live together, so we are going to share family germs. That's Harding's rule. If you teach, you have to be at least 12 feet from your students if you're not going to wear a mask. So on my Monday night psychology class, I can't get 12 feet from my students, so I teach for 2.5 hours with a mask on my face. It's a good time. I am honestly a little overwhelmed. I have not seen you all in this kind of setting since March 7th. So way back then, I was 31 years old. It was a total different lifetime ago. And it's kind of overwhelming to think about. If I think about this too much, I'll probably start crying because I'd rather just see your whole face. And I would not like there to be so many barriers or plexiglass. And quite honestly, I don't like this room as much because it just seems so big and pretty sterile. But these were our options. So to be in this room, all together, socially distanced, or to just not be here at all. So I hope you're feeling like I am, just a true attitude of gratitude of getting to be together because that just makes my heart happy. Some of you have watched the COVID amendment video and you filled out a survey monkey, and this is my proud face. So you already are very aware of like the changes today. We're gonna have to really strictly enforce those for a few reasons. One, just an integrity thing. If we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it. Some of you live at home with people who are at risk. Either they have diabetes, or they're battling cancer, or they're an elderly person. And we really want to protect those people. Some of you may not be taking this COVID thing seriously at all. This is not the place where you get to sort of exercise your freedom of that opinion. You just have to follow the rules. Just know that I love you, and we're all going to follow them, tutors, staff, students alike. I'm just excited to see you, and I promise we're going to make the most that we can. This is the other cool thing about Upward Bound. If you guys do something in school, and you're like, hey, this actually worked really well, you should try this. Or if you see something on social media that's really fun and you can do social distancing, please tell me. Because sometimes I'm creative, and sometimes I'm just not. Sometimes Liddell and Scott are creative, and sometimes they're just not. Ashel's always creative, but she doesn't count. So please tell us what we can do to make this better. It's one massive experiment, but it's one that I'm willing to try because I've missed your faces. So as we go throughout today, just give us some grace, and we're going to give you some grace. Today is hopefully, the first of 13 Saturdays that we have together this year. Also, hopefully, I kind of hope it's the most boring Saturday you have, and this is why. Today is just very business heavy. That isn't because it's COVID. The first UB Saturday of the year is always business heavy because you have all your forms to bring and turn in. Hopefully you have forms. And we're gonna have to go through all of that stuff. And it's just a little different, that's okay. We also, at the end of today, are gonna talk about recruitment. We, at the moment, have 18 spots to fill, 18. So I want you to be thinking about your freshman friends, maybe a handful of your sophomore friends who you think would be an awesome fit into the program. And this is also a time for you all to commit. So if you know, like, you know what, I feel like I'm really loud. If you know that you're not gonna be doing Upward Bound and you're just not into it and you're only here because you felt like you kind of had to be, but you know you don't want to be in the program, today is the day to tell us that so that we can open that spot to help somebody else when we recruit. And I'll talk more about that later. This summer, normally I would show like an awesome slideshow from the summer. Even this summer, we allowed hugs. So some of you I got to hug this summer, and I think that is what got me through the summer. The summer was a hot mess, but it was okay. It was all right. I think I could cry because right now I can't hug you, and I think all the staff feels that way, but we're gonna make it work. This summer, some of you got really cool prizes. You did fun things. It wasn't a typical Upward Bound Summer Academy experience, but hopefully it wasn't too terrible. But these are some of my favorite pictures from our summer together. I'm sorry they're not from Dallas, but that's okay. Even though a lot of how we do our things in Upward Bound have had to change, government regulations, the heart of Scott, Liddell, and I definitely hasn't. So throughout this whole year, it's going to be harder for you. Some of you are only in school for like 2 hours a day. Some of you are not in your school at all. You're doing everything virtually. And I don't think as a teenager, I would have been able to do that. I would not have been able to be disciplined enough. I would not have done very well teaching things to myself. And there is 0% chance I would want to be around my family that long. And I know that a lot of you feel really similarly. So whatever your situation is, whether you are in school 5 days a week the whole time, or you're in school like 2 days a week for a few hours, or you're never in school, please, more than any year ever that you've had, this is the year to reach out to us and say, hey, I really need a tutor. I don't understand learning algebra online. My teacher is not very well at teaching virtually. I don't think I would be. And I need help. Or, hey, my family is driving me crazy. I feel like I'm constantly stressed. I need help. Please let us know. Or, hey, it's my senior year. I am freaking out because I no longer am in school. I can't talk to my counselor. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. All of these things are very valid reasons to contact us. That's the perk of being an Upward Bound. More than ever, you have more resources available to you. And so please don't be timid. COVID has not stopped us from doing our job. It's just made us actually do our job even more. Okay? Before we get to just all the busyness, I kind of want to play a little game, mainly for my sake. Sometimes I'm selfish like that. This is a logic game. How many of you enjoy logic games? Just a handful. Well, humor me. Okay. Ashel raises her hand 5 minutes later. It's a very Ashel thing to do. So, okay. We're going to play this game. I am going to go on a trip. LOL, I wish I was literally going on a trip. And I'm going to bring some things in my suitcase, and you are going to help me pack my suitcase. Okay, so I'll tell you 2 things that I'm going to bring in my suitcase that I know I'm going to need on my trip. And these are things that I would legitimately bring on a trip, and I do. So, chocolate. Yes, that was an excellent. Ashley, what do you mean, no? Girl, we're just gonna have a chat. So I'm gonna bring chocolate, and I am for sure gonna bring coffee because I'm a witch without it. So, chocolate and coffee, those are 2 things I'm bringing. Now I want you to raise your hand and say, hey, you're gonna bring this, and I will tell you whether or not I will actually bring it. And your job is to be thinking about, what are the things that she's bringing, and then find the pattern. Okay? So, Aaliyah, what's something I'll bring? I would actually not bring my phone on the trip. Evan. A what? A toothbrush? Nope, want to bring a toothbrush. I just went to the dentist, and they said that my smile was lovely. Amaria. Ashel? Sorry, Ash. Ash is not on this trip. Zoe Rice. A coat? Yeah. Is that what you said? I would bring a coat. You're right, I would bring a coat. Catherine? Candy. Candy! I would definitely bring candy. Aaliyah?
Hold on, I forgot. Wait. Like, a Coke.
A Coke?
Yeah.
To drink? I'd bring a Coke.
I knew it.
Okay, if you feel like you know it, keep your hand down. Okay, if you're like, oh, I don't know, Maria, what will I bring on my trip? I can't hear you, babe. Money? Nah, I'm not gonna bring any money. But I will bring my charm. Okay, Catherine?
A Coachella ticket.
A Coachella ticket. Yes, I will join my sister at Coachella. Sure. Kinsey? I would bring a cat. Yes, Ashel would love that. Okay, what else would I bring? Some of you who know it, you can keep guessing to help other people figure it out. Yeah, Aaliyah.
A can of beans.
A can of beans. I would, sure, bring a can of beans. Amaria. Cash, I would bring cash, but not money. I would also bring a credit card.
Yeah.
Okay, Catherine?
A chamber choir.
A chamber choir. I would travel in style. You are so right. Amarie,
A camel and pike on her hand
a camel? Might be a little hard to get through customs, but I'll figure it out. Aaliyah?
A Chanel bag.
A Chanel bag. I think you guys have figured it out. So what's something that I would not bring?
Anything that doesn't start with C.
Anything that doesn't start with C. You are so smart.
I figured out the third one.
Hey, that's pretty good. We did this game when I was in 6th grade, really, actually. And the clue was everything had to have double letters in it. And I just wasn't really willing to think that hard this morning, so I made everything start with a C. So good job. I literally just said we have no time to waste, and to me that was not a waste of time. I needed that. You guys are so smart. For the record, I would never bring a camel or a cat. I would always bring Asheville, and I legitimately will bring chocolate and coffee. And if not coffee, caffeine pills. I'm that person. Okay, now is the time to take out your UB paperwork. So we mailed you that awesome packet of work. If you do not have it and you need a new set of handouts, I need you to raise your hand super high. All right, one set. Just, okay. Hi, Marlon. Marlon. Did you guys like your new masks?
Yes.
I like them too. Yes. What did you say? New forms? Okay.
Marlon.
Filling out Faith and Karen. Okay. I don't want to spend too long talking about your forms. If for some reason you didn't bring them today, or if we just are giving you a new set, turn them into Mr. Scott at Ally Visits. He'll be at Ally Visits starting this next week. We're going to talk about that. If you're doing school virtually and you don't have face-to-face Ally Visits, you can just bring them to us to the next upper bound or mail them to us. Okay? Okay. So in the forms that you're returning to us, there should be a file update, a medical update, a mentoring counseling agreement, your counseling consent, your ACT prep parent consent, your high school schedule, and your statement of recommitment. Good. So I'm going to go through these real quick. Here's the thing in this world, 100% of your life, 100% of the time, I guarantee you, you are going to be filling out forms for things. So in high school, it's stuff like this. You're going to be filling out forms for college applications and scholarships. When you work, you have to fill out all this paperwork for HR. I was in Harding's Human Resources Department for hours when I was hired, filling out all this stuff, filling out all the stuff when you go to the doctor, the dentist, the optometrist, insurance, all the time. And some of you just aren't very good at filling out paperwork. Sorry, not sorry. So you need to make sure, because these are legal documents, you need to make sure we're trying to get you prepared because, okay, this is a perfect example. One of your upward bound upperclassmen who is now in college, when she was filling out her FAFSA, she did it wrong. And I have had to work with her the last several weeks in her college's financial aid department has had to work with her. And unless her sister was going to be going to this, the only thing that saved her and let her be in college this fall was the fact that her sister is going to the same college. So they already had a FAFSA that was accurate on family representation, or else she would not be able to be in school. And it was one little question about how many people live in your house. And she just wasn't considering all of her siblings. And that happens. It's a very easy mistake. But it almost cost her a whole year of college. A whole year. And thankfully, she already had a sister in college with her, and so there was sort of a loophole. A lot of you are not going to have siblings in college with you. And that's like a legitimate story. She was just in my office for 2 hours this week. And she's not even in upper bound anymore. She's a graduate, and we're working through some of these things. So please, take it seriously when we say, have you done these things thoroughly? Because one little question on a computer through a click box, and you type in one number, could prevent you from having money to go to college. Does that sound unfair? Yeah. But the government, there's over 300 million people in this country, and they're not going to have feelings like we will. So please, learn to make sure you're really accurate in your paperwork, for sure. And your social security number, that's not on your form that you fill out, but your name on your social security card is so vital. And so if you go by something different than what is on that card, you need to actually put down on every legal document what's on that card. So Miss Linnell, her name is actually Yvonne Linnell Stamps. And that has caused some hiccups for her, trying to get an upgraded driver's license so that she can get on an airplane, because you know you have to have the updated driver's license. Because all of her stuff just says Linnell. That's a problem. For Ashel, Ashel's name is actually not Ashel. Did you know that? Booyah is actually Catherine. Catherine Ashel. So she grew up being called Kate. So everyone knows Ashel is Ashel. But on everything she signs, it's Catherine Ashel Parsons. And that's important. So make sure on all this stuff, you give us your real name. That way when we help you fill out your FAFSA, we can remind you and say, hey, Candace, as opposed to whatever your first name is, or hey, so-and-so. This is a really big deal. It may not seem significant now, but it is a big one, so make sure that's right. For names that are hyphenated, you have like 2 last names. If that's legally what's on your social security card, great. If it's not, don't put it down. We need your legal name, your FAFSA is going to need your legal name, all of these documents. So I'm just telling you now, because this isn't just important for upper bound, it's life wisdom. The apostrophe for me is the biggest pain. For the longest time, I've only wanted to get married to drop my apostrophe. Kind of true, kind of not. But it's a big deal. Another big deal. You all know that we send out mail, LOL, all the time. We have to. We're a grant program, so we have to document everything. Here's the thing. Some of you are like, yeah, I live at 102 Main Street, Apartment A, and I have no idea what town that's in, because every town has a Main Street. So I need to know if that's in Kensett, Judsonia, is that in McCrory, or Higginson, or Searcy. I have no idea, especially for all of our schools, you could live anywhere. Some of our McCrory kids live in Augusta, or some of our Augusta kids live in McCrory. Kids at Riverview, White County Central, Blah, live all over the place. So please let us know. And if your mailing address is different than where you physically live, we need both. Okay? Make sure they're both there. And if it's kind of strange, like if your address is somewhere where you physically live, but it's kind of hard to get to and you don't really have a mailbox, if we ever need to actually go to your house, which sometimes we do, to actually bring you stuff, especially this year in a virtual year, let us know. On your schedule, we didn't think about this till after the fact, but if you are doing school virtually, or if you are only in school part-time, if you're doing something kind of a hybrid, we need to know that. So that bottom section where it says, do you anticipate special tutoring for the fall semester? If you know you're going to need tutoring, I need to know that ASAP. Because my tutors are college students and they're busy and I want to work with their schedules. Additionally, in that space, I need you to write, I am virtual, or I am hybrid, or I am only at school until 9 in the morning, which is actually true for 2 of you. You get out of school before 10 a.m. Blows my mind. Some of you aren't at our target schools anymore. I now have 2 students at Cersei, a homeschool student, a Crosspoint student, a Cabot student. Make sure I know exactly where you're going, because that's gonna help us out. So make sure you fill that out correctly. You should also have a recommitment letter. This stuff is really important to us. We 100% as a UB staff sit around and we talk about you guys. Not in a gossipy way, in the like, wow, this person has so much potential, I cannot wait to see what they're doing with their life kind of way. And you would not have gotten this letter if we didn't think you had potential. Because we also assess you. And we say, you know what, we really want this person to continue to be in the program. So if you have the sheet of paper in front of you, which every single one of you have received it in the mail, take that as a compliment. Because it means that, hey, we're willing to commit to you, and we just hope that you're willing to commit to us too. So that needs to be signed. Hopefully your parents already signed it. Now, there is all of those papers. If you could, it would be awesome if you put them in this order. So your file update, medical, mentoring, counseling, ACT, agreement, your schedule, and then your statement of recommitment. That would be ideal. You guys, I am speeding through this schedule today. I'm rocking it. Are there any questions that you have? Linnell.
A couple have told me that they've got them, but they're not all signed.
Okay.
They can be delivered to
Yeah.
Mr. Scott next week. And for the, for the ones who.
Yeah, I had said that at the beginning, but if you don't remember this, you have to sign it. Your parents have to sign it, or else we're gonna be giving them back to you. So save us a step if they're not fully filled out of not turning them in. And then turn them into Mr. Scott. If you don't have face-to-face ally visits because you're not in school with us, then either mail them back or return them on September 19th. But we do need these forms back. Any other questions? Yes, Kinsey.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to come look at this.
Okay.
So I have A and B days in this pocket because we messed up when we were doing it together. And we're not sure how to put that.
I mean, you can just put the day and then A next to it for the time, and then B next to it for the time. Just put all of your classes. Yeah. Tanisha, will you get her a new class schedule? Any other questions? Okay. I think it's a little too early for a break, so we're just gonna keep going. And then when I feel like it's a good time for a break, you can get up, stretch your legs, get a drink of water. For my seniors, I know 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, this is not the senior year that you imagined at all. For some of you, you're the first person in your family to even graduate high school. And that's awesome and such an amazing accomplishment. And although my heart is like breaking for you, I also know that you're gonna make the most of it. And the Upward Bound staff is really committed to helping you make the most of it. More than any other time, I want you to go to college and just thrive, 100%. This afternoon, after lunch, Scott and I are gonna be meeting with the seniors, just in a different room, privately. We're gonna be giving you your senior notebook. This year we have some phenomenal seniors. This is the class, most of these students were in Upward Bound prior to me even being the director. I came in their very first year. And so I do not know this job without them. And it is really hard for me to fathom, really honestly difficult for me to imagine a Marlin-less Upward Bound. And crazy to imagine a Karen-less Upward Bound. I just can't bring my mind there. It makes me really emotional. I need to stop because I feel my voice starting to but every single person on this list is incredible. And I could go through each one of you, whether you've been in the program for a year or for 4 years. Some of you, Scott and I, have the blessing of picking, and that's, I think, phenomenal to both of us. But you have a special challenge this year because the whole world has changed the last several months. The whole world. And you are sort of caught in this place of needing to move forward. Most of you are not even in school. And if you are, it's for just a handful of classes. And it's this awkward place of you sort of are being robbed of the traditional high school experience your senior year. But then we definitely want you to go on to college, but what do you do in this meantime? We 100% want all of the younger students to take note of who your leaders are. Seniors, we still want you to be leaders. We still want you to actively participate. We want you to do everything we can to soak up all of the encouragement and nourishment of this year. We also don't want you to just nosedive. I don't know about you, but the last several months have taken a major toll, even on my mental health. And I'm a licensed professional counselor. I teach psychology. I should know this stuff, but it's been really hard for me. So I know if it's hard for me, and my home life is great, and I love my job, and my faith is very strong, and I have awesome relationships, and I never have to worry about food, and I don't have a lot of the burdens that you all carry. And if that's still hard on me, I know the last several months have really chipped away at so many of you, especially my seniors, because I've talked to a lot of you one-on-one. If it is your senior year, if you are on this list and you are feeling some anxiety, or if you are feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life right now, you're not alone. And now more than ever, and we're going to tell you again this afternoon, I want to know that you feel overwhelmed now, as opposed to May, when there's so much less time that we have to build you back up. So please take note of that. Take that seriously. These are phenomenal students on this list. They've made it this far. And we just really want to help you move forward. On your desk, when you came in, you know that this is the work of Linnell. 100% how organized everything was. But you have your folder for this year. It's black. And inside, there's a place to write all of your username and passwords. A lot of you, that stuff is in your phone, so you can't do that right now. But just know, because every single year, especially this past summer, I had a lot of you say, hey, can you look at my UB folder and see if you know my ACT login? Or see if you know whatever this information is. And thankfully, it was in your UB folder. There are a handful of times that we can't help you because you didn't write it down. We want you to write it down. I have never once, in my 3 years of being the director, not one time, looked at your login information and logged into something as if I was you. Never one time. I'm a really busy lady, ain't nobody got time for that. You are the only person who is actually going to look at this unless you ask us to say, hey, what is the password? And we're not going to log in for you. We're just going to tell it to you. So this isn't a way for us to spy on you, I promise. We already have access to your grades. And we already have access to all of that stuff. Your schools give it to us. So we're not spying on you. We're really just trying to help you. So help you help yourself, your future self, by writing that stuff down. If you know it now, awesome. If when we take a break, you need to go and look at your phone and write down that stuff, please do. Your high school's online stuff, I know that all of you are being inundated with online programs, whether you're using Canvas or Google Classroom or whatever your school's using. Now more than ever, that's so relevant, and you're going to need access to that kind of stuff. So make sure we have that information as well in case you lose it or for some reason you cannot log in. One of you in the spring, for whatever reason on your device, your password was not working, and you were like, I know that this is my password, but it's not working. But on my device, it was working just fine. And so that is a way for you to know, hey, this is a device issue and not a password issue. And little things like that are gonna happen. I hate technology. This whole like Corona thing and having to do everything virtual is kind of my personal version of HE double hockey sticks, and I hate it. Hate it so much, because it isn't my comfort zone. And for some of you, you're so tech savvy, you're great, but when you have homework due and assignments due and you have deadlines and then you can't get into something, that's such a trigger. And for some of you, that is why you didn't turn stuff in the spring, because you just got really overwhelmed, you couldn't get into something, and so your grades suffered. Please don't let your grades suffer for this reason. Just give us that stuff. No big deal. Now email. We talk about this one a lot this summer, during Summer Academy. For those of you who are in Summer Academy, you know how much we inundated your email. That's just because with Summer Academy we're doing it virtually. Our plan and hope is to never inundate your email unless it's just important information. And for some of you, you don't have Facebook, and you don't have Instagram, and you don't have Remind. So this is a really good way for us to reach out to you. Many of you, your school email, we cannot send emails to because we're outside of your school network. So you need a professional email address that's separate and apart. You also are going to lose your school email when you go to college for the most part. So you need to have one that has all of your college applications and scholarships information in it so you don't lose it. I would make one that is like your first and last name. So Ashel is ashelparsons@gmail.com. My alternative email is o'brienstephanie@gmail.com. Pretty boring, that's okay. In high school, my emails were smcgrathbabe@sugarrayfans.zzn.com. I was a huge Sugar Ray fan, and I really thought I was gonna marry Mark McGrath, the lead singer. I didn't. And then Steffi77 crazy, what does that communicate about me? That I'm crazy, which is true, but it's not what I want to communicate. And then Steffi Volley7, did I play volleyball in high school? Yeah. Was I good? Absolutely. Still didn't need to be my identity. So, just know that is called regret. But I'm telling you, so that you don't do what I did. 100% don't do that. Just give us an email that is your name. It's very easy, and then you can have it for a really long time, and you will like that. Also, in your permanent folder, there should be a pretty thick blue sheet of paper that talks about your accomplishments. Yay, accomplishments. Again, this is one of those things that as freshmen and sophomores and maybe even juniors you don't take very seriously. But when it comes time for everybody's senior year and you are filling out your scholarships and writing a resume, which all of you will do, you're like, dang, I do not remember everything I've done in high school. And so we whip out this blue sheet, and hopefully you've listened to me talk right now, and you've written down the stuff that you've done. So for every single student who did Summer Academy, you need to write that down. Every single one of you who did Summer Academy, that's a big deal, especially in the summer of 2020. If you do not have this sheet, by the way, raise your hand in your folder. Okay.
There were a couple that just were missing.
Okay.
All I could guess is last spring, maybe you took it home because it's simply gone.
Okay. So if you have it at home, great. Bring it back, put it in your folder. But Maddie, raise your hand again. Maddie, Tori, Maria, did you need one? Maria. This, I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but I worked so much with Courtney Moore last year, writing scholarships, doing resumes, doing all of this stuff. And that stuff can be really overwhelming. And so there were times that I'll be like, okay, Courtney, just sit over here, work on homework, and I'm gonna help you do this. And all I had to do was look at her blue sheet. And it was very easy for me. And now Courtney has a full ride to A-State. She's in Jonesboro. She's thriving, she's awesome, she's not paying for college. And she kept up with this, she did a lot of things. Also, if you realize, hey, there's not many activities that I'm in, and there aren't many groups that I'm in, that might be a little catalyst for you to say, okay, maybe this is the year I need to try to do something. And if it's like all virtual or your school is being really weird on groups, you can also start your own thing. And that's Awesome. So if there's an organization, some of you talked to me this summer about wanting to start an organization at your school, which I loved. Way to go for my Riverview kids. But do that. Let's talk about it. I want you to do things that you're passionate about, that interest you, so you can put stuff on this paper. Be thinking about what you did over the summer. Summer academy, any volunteering, anything at all. Make sure you're pretty thorough. Yes, your planner. This is a Harding planner. They come from the Harding bookstore. We bought them for you. We didn't buy them to collect dust. We didn't buy them to like be campfire paper. We bought them to be used and written in. Some of you are more like me, where you use your phone and your calendar, and I do that because I travel with it. I can always have it on me. But planners are really nice too, and we want you to use it. So every Upward Bound Saturday, we want to be in there. So the next one's September 19th, and the one after that is October 3rd, and the one after that is October 24th, and then November 14th, and then December 5th. See? Got them all up there. But we want you to use that. If you know when ally visits are, which we're going to tell you in a hot second, that needs to be in your calendar, because it's important to us that you touch base with Mr. Scott. Guess what? It's more important for you to touch base with Mr. Scott. He just makes everything better. This is really important to do. I know when life seems really chaotic, for some of you, you just continue to spiral, and you just let things happen. And even if you dislike organization, if it's not your strength, you just don't do it. I have a little counseling pro tip for you. When things seem out of control, which is a lot of things right now, I promise, will feel better if you can control the little things that you can. So that's your time. Making sure you know when things are due so you're not caught off guard by anything else. Because everything else in the world is already catching you off guard. So don't add to your own burden there. And make sure, whether it's in this planner or in some other system that you have, that you're planning. I did not have to do this too much in high school. I was just pretty good at remembering everything that I had to do. But when I came to college, it was a total smack in the face. And thankfully, I had a roommate who already had her own organization system, and I just kind of adopted it. Or else I think I really would have struggled even more my freshman year, because there's so much more to do and so much more to stay on top of than even now. Any questions about that? Okay. Yeah, our Saturday schedule. Yay! This we sent to you. You should have it. You know it. I earnestly pray that we get to be in this room or somewhere else on campus for all of these Saturdays. You know, if you read our amendment, if Harding closes, no more UB Saturdays face-to-face. Let's say if Riverview closes, my poor Riverview kids can't come on Saturdays anymore. If any of your schools close, my hope is that all 6 of your schools stay open and my big school stays open, so that we can see you on these Saturdays. I want you to plan for that. Some of you aren't getting much face-to-face experience at all. So even just this little bit of interaction is going to help you socially. The other night, so my family does this group text. I don't know how many of your family group texts. Mine does. It's kind of a burden, but it's fine. It's good. It's good. It's fine. But 2 of my sisters are nurses, and they work overnight. So they text from like midnight to 6 in the morning. Homegirl is not awake from midnight to 6 in the morning. But the other night I woke up, I had to go to the restroom, and I made the huge mistake of looking at my phone. And I had like 50 text messages, like a bajillion text messages. 50 is a bajillion when it comes to text messages. And it was all my family in Columbia Public Schools. The school district that I grew up in is now shutting down, September 8th. They lasted like 4 weeks. Because the coronavirus cases in Columbia where I'm from have skyrocketed ever since Mizzou came back into session. And this is a huge school district. Okay, my graduating class, okay, for my seniors, yell out what your graduating class number is.
35.
35. 85. The rest of you don't know. Okay, 35 and 85. Anybody over 100? I don't think so. In my graduating class, just the people in my class, I had 596 people. That's a lot of people. Okay. There are 3 massive high schools the same size as mine in my town, and 24 huge elementary schools, and 3 huge junior highs, and 3 huge middle schools. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands of kids who are all about to go virtual. All of them. And I stayed up all night just crying, like in my heart. I couldn't physically cry. That's hard for me to do. But I cried in my heart. And Ashley's laughing at me because she knows it's just so true. And I was up all night just thinking about these kids. I don't know these kids. I know one of them, my nephew. 2 of them, my nephews. I have 2 of those. But then I started thinking about you all. Because you all I know. And you all I really love. And I'm in this weird place because on one hand, I'm an educator and an administrator. And I want to protect you. I want to protect my college student staff. I definitely want to protect my adult staff. I'm also a counselor. And my whole life, I have counseled and worked with young people and young adults. And I know 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, even if you are the most supreme introvert, how important human interaction is. It is critical. It is critical to your development as a human being. You, as much as mature as you think you are, and some of you are, some of you are not. Take that with a grain of salt. Some of you are wildly mature. You're still not done cooking. And you need human interaction. You need to know how to have conversations and not just to a screen. And you need to know how to interact with people. And you need those social skills. And you need to know what it's like to be in groups, because this is not going to last forever. But because you're so young, some of those things just kind of diminish. And the frontal lobe of your brain, I'm going to talk about this all the time. I'm a counselor and I can't not. The frontal part of your brain, right behind your forehead, you have 4 lobes. Your frontal lobe, your temporal, your parietal, and your occipital lobe. Those other ones are almost done forming, but your frontal lobe, which is in charge of your decision making, that doesn't stop growing till you're 25. So for all of my college student staff, you're still cooking, which is awesome. You're still growing, and you're still learning to think critically and to make decisions. And a huge part of that growth and development, sure, it's sleep, it's what you eat, it's hydration, it's water intake, and that kind of stuff. It is also how you interact with other people and that social development. And I am kind of terrified for these little kids who aren't getting that. I'm also terrified for my big kids who aren't. And so if you are virtual or you're not getting much interaction at school, please come on Saturdays. Please prioritize that, because even if you feel like it might be a waste of time in some ways for your development, I promise it's not. You need to interact with other people. I hope you see the fruit in that. Scientifically, there's a lot of value. So prioritize that. Be on time, be here, hang out with us. I know things are different, but I want you to have this kind of interaction. And even if you have to stay 6 feet apart from each other, I still want you to see your peers. Because one day you're going to be in college together. And you're going to be able to say, you know what, I lived through this crazy season, 2020, and crap hit the fan. But you survived it. And I don't want you to have lost any more than you need to in that time. Okay, so please take it seriously. To come, to participate in anything that you can do with us or other people. It's important. So I say that not even as the director of Upper Ground. I say that as a lover of mankind and humanity. Do I think coronavirus is real? Absolutely. Do I think that you need some type of social contact with people? Absolutely. Both things can be true. Bear that in mind. Now, other things I want you to bear in mind. Even though the world in so many ways has sort of like halted and stood still, what colleges want for you to be admitted is not. So you really need to take the ACT. Especially because I'm guessing that for most of you in the spring, your caliber level of education kind of went, meow. And I'm guessing that for a lot of you this fall, because it's impossible for teachers to have to teach face-to-face, to do online, to handle everything that they're doing. Sometimes the last thing they can have to do is actually teach and instruct you, and their hands are tied behind their back. We're not faulting them for that, but we know that you still, every single one of you has this huge test in front of you. I hate the ACT. There's no lie about it. Hate it, but it's still important. There can be things as a human being that you don't like and you don't believe in, but you still have to do. This is just part of what you have to do. To go to college, you have to take this. So, we want to prepare you. My ACT score ranged, and I've told you all this. I took the ACT 4 times, and I got a 28, 29, a 22, and then a 32. Did I magically become brilliant between my 22 and my 32? No, 0%. Did I have a car accident and lose some brain cells between my 29 and my 22? No, I was the same person. Tests are just hard. And I never once, ever once went to an ACT prep class. I never had that experience. I didn't know how to actually take the test. And sometimes I got lucky, and sometimes I just did what I needed to succeed that day. I got a solid night's rest. I really managed my anxiety. I calmed down. I ate nutritious things. Those things really do make a difference, just stuff that you typically don't think about. Some of you have taken the test 5 times and you're getting stuck. Some of you have not taken this test at all and you're a senior. Every single senior, every single one of you, we want to take that October 24 ACT. The registration deadline for that is September 17th, so it's before the next upper bound day. You really need to take it. We prefer you take it here, only because I live less than a football field distance from where we are right now. I walk to work every morning, almost every morning. If it's raining, no. So the last 2 weeks, it's 50-50, but most days I walk because I live right there. I would love, and I'm volunteering Ashel to love, having all of our seniors over to our house that morning for breakfast and just a calming powwow so that you guys can just center yourself and go into the test in this building at 8 o'clock that morning and rock it. For any of my juniors who want to take that test, so you can know at least where you're starting, what your score is, because juniors, you're going to have to take it in February. Please, by all means, register to take that test. We want our students to take the ACT. It's not even a want, it's a required. We want our students to do their best. And so for all of my seniors and any of our juniors who want to go ahead and take it, please do. Register for that ASAP if you need help registering. If you don't know your voucher information, just contact Mr. Scott. When you register for that exam, again, we want you to take it Harding the 24th. There are other options. That is, an upper bound day. So you could, if you go to the ACT and then just finish your last 2 hours with upper bound, you'll get your stipend. Hiccups. You'll get your stipend that day. And I would love for you to come to my house. You can see where I live. It's just a good, relaxing day. Okay, you'll need a photo, smile. You'll have to print off your ticket. We can do that for you. If you're not in school and you don't have access to a printer, but we really want you to do that. We do have ACT prep. This year, I know coming to Harding's campus on a Tuesday, for so many of you, especially because you live so far out, that's impossible. So if you want to come on campus on Tuesday, awesome. Again, I think that human interaction is really valuable if you can get here. So for especially my kids who live closer, my Pembroke kids, Bald Knob, Riverview, White County, for sure if you can get here, come. If you can't, don't feel like that you can't participate because we will do these virtually as well. The thing about the ACT, it may not seem significant to you, but it may make the difference between you having to take out a ton of student loans and you not having to take out any at all. Every single score for so many schools is another thousands of dollars that you get. So it is kind of like a job. It's just a job that you don't get paid for until later. And you're gonna want, trust me, you're going to want to have school paid for, 100%. It's important. And you don't have to have a 30 on your ACT to have a full ride to places. There are so many schools that if you take it and you're working toward it and you're improving that score, they're gonna give you money for it. So don't think that I'm only talking to those of you who are like in the 28 to 34 range. No, this is for every single one of you. Every point really does matter. And so we have planned more ACT prep dates than we've ever planned. There are more Tuesdays on that calendar than there have ever been. And those dates you have, we sent them to you. They are going to be at 5:30 on Tuesdays on the second floor of this building. So the room in the McIntyre that we usually would use, that's where ACT prep will be. You're still gonna have to wear a mask and be socially distanced. But Kim, our ACT prep person, you guys know her at Ball now, she's one of your teachers. Kim Hawkins is our ACT prep tutor. And please prioritize that. If there's ever a time that you can't make it, but you want to do that virtually, just let us know and we'll make sure you have that information. So all of these circled Tuesdays, right here, I have a laser pointer, I just forgot. This is the best. All of these circled Tuesdays are the days that we're offering ACT prep. This is when I get to use fun toys. Look, ta-da! The benefit of this room, I get a toy. Please take advantage. We actually care so much about it that we're gonna pay you to go to ACT prep. In most places, one of my former students in my psychology class, he tutors for ACT, and parents pay him $20 an hour to tutor their kid for the ACT. $20 an hour. That's a lot. That's double minimum wage because they care so much about their student score. We're paying you to actually be tutored. It's kind of a reverse system. We're gonna pay Kim too, obviously, but we are paying you to come learn. We're investing in you. It's an investment, and that is critical. And here's the thing, if you are going to your senior year, come to me, and you're gonna be a hot mess about your ACT score, but you've never tried to study for it, and you've never put forth effort, it's gonna be hard for us to be sympathetic. Not that we won't be, but we're gonna meet you halfway there. So you can't expect Upward Bound to do all the studying for you. We can't take the test for you. We just can't. But you take the test, we will do everything we can to help you out. So if this isn't enough and you're like, hey, I need more, talk to me. I think for most of you, it's testing anxiety. We have a counseling intern, Mariah. No! It went out. I'll yell. We have Mariah, and Mariah will help you. I can help you. I want you to come over to my house for breakfast before you take that test, and I will help you. Anything we can do, we're gonna pay you to do it, so please come. Speaking of Mariah, this is lovely Mariah. Mariah was a student of mine in Upward Bound a decade ago. Makes me feel old, probably makes Mariah feel old, but I love her, and I have loved her for a decade. And when I found out that she was going to school to become a counselor, the moment she was applying, before she even interviewed for the program, I was like, hey Mariah, you can do your internship with me, and I have planned it ever since then. This is like all of my worlds uniting. And after she was in Upward Bound, but before she came and was an intern for me, she worked with Scott at his restaurant with his wife. So the whole Upward Bound family loves her. She's amazing. Some of you got to know her a little bit in work study, but not really. It wasn't a personal class this summer. And so you just know she's the person who graded your stuff and took off points. That was at my direction, not hers, so don't hold a grudge against Mariah if you didn't get money. That was actually my call. Hold a grudge against me. But Mariah is incredible. And I don't trust many people. I really don't. I know that's kind of bad. But I just don't. I trust Mariah wholeheartedly. And I really loved Harley, obviously. This isn't a like, oh, Stephanie replaced Harley. No, Harley graduated. She's getting a big girl job. A year from now, Mariah is going to hopefully get a big girl job. In my dream world, she would just get a big girl job with Upper Bound. But it is 1,000% to your benefit to get to know her. One, she was in Upward Bound. She went to White County Central. She's been sitting where you're sitting. I think this is kind of a surreal experience for her because 10 years ago, she would have been sitting in these chairs too. She knows Linnell's OCD organization. She knows my quirky weirdness, and she's still back for it. And she has her bachelor's degree. She's now working on her master's in EDS to be a counselor. And she, very much like Harley, like myself, has not had a cookie cutter easy life, but she's redeeming so much of it, and she's going into a field to help people. And what's really cool for her is she gets to help people literally from where she's from. And so we have permission at all of our schools to go and meet face to face with you in school, or you can come to Harding's campus and meet with Mariah, or for those of you who need to Zoom, you can Zoom with Mariah. All of these things are available to you. On Tuesday evenings at 7:30, she's going to do a group just like Harley did. And to me, that group experience, all of that will be virtual. Because I know for a lot of you, you cannot get here. And so it'll just be a group Zoom. And it's going to start this upcoming Tuesday night at 7:30. And even just getting to do face-to-face time with other people from other schools and talk about just how things are going. Because things have been such a hot mess lately. Everything is just so weird. There's nothing about life anymore that just seems like normal. We kind of have to always think about something. Even walking out the door, it's like, do I have my keys? Do I have my phone? Do I have my mask? What? That's just an extra step. There's an extra step to everything. And that can be really overwhelming. So from talking about just the day-to-day stresses and anxieties to family stuff, to self-esteem stuff, all of the stuff, there's so much power and validity of knowing you're just not alone. I remember in high school feeling like I was the only one of my friends who was struggling with certain stuff. And I didn't realize until after college, when talking to some of my friends from high school, that they actually were struggling with the same things, but none of us ever talked about it. And so this is an opportunity for you every Tuesday night to just hear that you're not alone. And that's incredible to me. It's empowering, it's encouraging. And sometimes you as the student will be able to say something to a peer that helps them get through that day. All of you have had really rough days. I know that because you've told me about it. A lot of you have really hard home lives, and your parents are really difficult. And we love them, but they're impossible. And some of you have siblings that drive you crazy. And some of you are just overwhelmed. You feel overwhelmed because of the financial insecurity in your family, especially the last several months. Or just anything. Grief. Some of you are grieving the loss of loved ones who passed away this summer. All of that stuff is valid. So the thing about counseling, I told you at the beginning of this that this summer was even like a hot mess for my mental health. Like a true nosedive. I think Ashel and the staff can affirm that I was a hot mess this summer. So much so that even me, yours truly, your director of Upward Bound, counselor myself, I know you're not supposed to point lasers at yourself, but here I am. I am going back to counseling. Not to Mariah because I'm her supervisor and that's unethical. But I, at the end of this month, am going back to counseling. And you all get to go to counseling for free because Upward Bound pays for that for you. I am going to have to be paying over $100 an hour. You guys know how much money that is? That's a whole lot of ACT preps. It is going to be so tough financially. I have to budget for that. And it's gonna be an investment into myself, but it's a worthwhile investment. Because I know mentally I cannot keep going like this. And I'm really strong. I've overcome a lot, and even I'm struggling. But I'm willing to pay that much for someone to help me out, because I just can't keep like this. I do not want you all to ever not get help because of money. Not a single one of you right now could afford $100 an hour. Not one of you. I'm still trying to make sure I can. And I will, because I have been saving. But that is hard. But every single one of you has stuff going on in your life that you probably need to work through. So I would so much rather you do that now, when it's free to you, and you have the resources available to get through some of that stuff. I'm still having to go to counseling for some of the things that happened to me when I was your age. It's really hard for me to say, because you would think by the time someone's 32, they're just over it. But those kind of little things, they keep up with you. They really do. And so I take the counseling thing seriously. It's one of the reasons why I've added it to our program. This is better. It's one of the reasons why I've emphasized counseling in Upward Bound, and why we've made a position to have a counseling intern. So I want you to take advantage of these group opportunities on Tuesday evenings. On Saturday mornings, tutor time will always be a part 1 and a part 2 of tutor time, except for today, obviously. This next Upward Bound Saturday, the 19th, is the only Saturday Mariah won't be here, because she's going to be in graduate class on that Saturday. Yeah, grad school, sometimes you go to school on the weekends. It's a hot mess, but it's good, it's worth it. But she won't be with us then, so that first Saturday, this next Saturday, there won't be group, but the rest of Saturdays there will be. So even if you have nothing to work on tutor-wise, then take advantage and go to that, during part 1, that counseling group with her. Just that face-to-face time. If you know you need one-on-one counseling meetings, I'm gonna let a week or 2 go by. She's already reached out to all of you just because she wanted to touch base. But some of you I really want to be in counseling. So if you don't initiate that in 2 weeks, I will never force that, but I might shoulder tap and say, hey, I think this would be a really good idea. But I just want you to know that I love, and trust Mariah, and I obviously believe in counseling, because none of us need to go through life alone. If you want to be in the Tuesday evening Zoom, if you want that link, just let us know. The other part of Upward Bound that I'm now adding started this summer. So for those of you who took part in part 2 of Summer Academy in July, you know I had my 2 critical thinking classes, and I loved that. We talked about racism this summer. And as 2020 has progressed, I've definitely realized that there are a lot of really hard things going on in the world, and things that you all don't always know how to talk about, or feel comfortable talking about, or you just, you're not educated enough to talk about in an intelligent way. And don't take offense to that. There are a lot of things as a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old I wouldn't have been educated enough to talk about. And so a lot of you have asked me questions, like about the Electoral College. That's going to come into play really big on November 3rd. That kind of stuff, election stuff, COVID, and how do you know what's real and what's not real, Black Lives Matter, the effects of virtual learning, all of this stuff that's so relevant today, but I'm not sure you guys are actually getting to talk about it in healthy ways, or hear about it outside of TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat. I want us to have real conversations. So on part 2 of tutor time, every Saturday, this is optional. I'm not gonna sit there and force you to have a conversation on these things. But if there's stuff you're like, you know what, I'm really interested in this, I want to learn about it, there will be a topic every Saturday, and it will be on your schedule. I haven't decided on the topic yet for September 19th. Things that I know I want to talk about for sure pretty soon are things like the election and the Electoral College, and like what that even is and how it works, because a lot of you don't even know. That when you vote for somebody, you're not actually voting directly for that person, you're voting for an elector. Crazy stuff you don't even think about. And how the United States is not actually a direct democracy. All this stuff that you're taught, but not really. So I want us to talk about it. And if there are topics that you're like, hey, we need to talk about this. This summer we talked about white privilege. If you want to revisit a conversation, if there's something you're like, hey, this is really critical, please tell me, otherwise I'm just gonna pick. I think everything's important. I love this kind of stuff. It's right up my alley. Our goal here in Upward Bound is to educate you and to make you the best version of yourself. A part of being the very best version of yourself is being a good citizen and being a good human being. And this, knowing to think critically and to communicate kindly and actually listen to people as opposed to listen to respond, is a huge part of being a successful citizen. So I'm never gonna make you be in that Saturday sit down. It's not gonna take place in this room. Tutoring will always be in this room. So we'll have like science in one corner and math in another corner and English up front or however it works out that day. But the counseling group will not be in here and Saturday sit downs will not be in here. But I just wanted you guys to know that that is a part of Upward Bound from now on. And I don't think it's gonna go away with 2020. There are always going to be important things to process. Okay, I do want us, I think it's time to take a little break. You're getting a little lazy. It is 10:10, so I'm gonna dismiss you all row by row. So you can go out this door right over here. And then the bathrooms are just down the hall, drinking fountains are just down the hall. If you need to check your phone, you can. If you need to talk to one of the staff members, you can. If you need to set up time with Mariah, you can. The Tuesday Zoom link, you can. If you need to look at your passwords, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna give you 15 minutes, so we'll come back at 10:25. Wash your hands, social distance, no touching. I love you. Back row, you go first. Leanna, Troy's room. And then the next row. As soon as the row behind you is out, you guys can just look behind you and take the lead. Just go alphabetically. You're going to lay your documents in this little basket. So all of your forms you need to give to her, please. Also, we gave you this lanyard, this little clippy clip. It just makes it really easy to clip your mask on it. So you can either do it like this, or you can clip it on the edge of your mask so that you can just put it up and take it down. It just makes it really easy. It's for your mask, so you don't have to hold it all the time or put it in your pocket because that just gets even worse. But it's for your mask, that's what that is for. Also, Ashley, I'm sorry, by the way. Good. Mariah, I want all of you to have Mariah's phone number. And so at the moment, handwrite this down because I know that you don't have your phone with you. So write down 501-203-9362. If you message Mariah probably up until 9 o'clock, she's gonna get back to you. Otherwise, I've given her permission to not respond to you really late at night. You can also email her. Her email is mariah.n.yingling@gmail.com. If you want to be in the group, and some of you have already communicated to us that you want to be in the group, which I love, please email Mariah. Even if you came up to her and you said, hey Mariah, I want to be in your group, she needs your email. So you need to email her and say, hey, remember me, I'm so-and-so, and I want to be in the group. So please do that. This year, we have some new tutors, and we have some old tutors. So one at a time, we have new people and old people. At the moment, getting your stuff is Tanisha. Tanisha is our new Hannah, which I love. Hannah's teaching now. She's at Bald Knob. She is a history teacher, and she's killing it. And Tanisha was in Upward Bound, and now she's with us. a Harding student, and it makes my heart so happy because Tanisha graduated the year I became a director. So I got to know her for like 3 months, and that was it. And then she went to A-State, and now she's transferred to Harding, and she works in our office, and she is incredible. And so we're just excited to have her. It's cool because 2 of our main staff members were in Upper Bound, Mariah and Tanisha. And then you guys know Garrett. If you remember Garrett, Garrett is awesome. He is still with us. He's a tutor. And he, last year, if you went to the homecoming musical, we saw Garrett, and it made all of our hearts happy, and it was amazing. And then Ethan, you guys know Ethan. Ethan is also incredible. Both of these gentlemen have been guides RAs in the summer. We have 2 new ladies with us today. First we have Chloe. I love Chloe. Yay, Chloe. Thank you for clapping. Making my heart smile. And then Ellie. Ellie, yay, Ellie. Chloe and Ellie were both Harding students in my psychology class last year. Ellie in the fall and Chloe in the spring. And in my psychology class, I love all my students, but there are those who end up becoming sort of standouts, the students who are rock stars at everything and you just get closer to. And I went through all, last year, how many psychology students did I have? 128. I went through the whole list of 128 students, and I chose 2. So it should tell you a lot that I chose Chloe and Ellie. Those were the 2 that I chose to come and work with you. They're phenomenal. And they're bright and kind and passionate and powerful, and they're incredible women. And I always want you to have incredible men and women in front of you. So I want you guys to be getting to know further Ethan and Garrett, and I want you to get to know in the first place Chloe and Ellie, and of course Tanisha as well. So yay for them. Ally visits. Scott, do you want to talk about ally visits? Okay, that's me. Ally visits. Up here it says for those at PHS, Pangburn High School, or a school outside of our targeted area, or doing virtual, we're going to be doing alternative ally visits. Okay, Pangburn let us know yesterday that we actually get to be at Pangburn to do ally visits, so just ignore that. But for those of you who are at Crosspoint, or Cabot, or homeschooling, or doing virtual learning, or you're not at school at the time the ally visits are, then we're going to be doing an alternative Zoom. So every Wednesday, starting this Wednesday at 11 a.m. and at 2 p.m., there's going to be Zoom options. You can always pick and choose which one you want to do. You don't have to do both. But if you're one of those students who cannot be there for ally visits, then you need to be at one of those 2. If your private school schedule or your alternative schedule doesn't fit that, if for some reason you cannot do that time, you need to let us know, because we still want to lay eyes on every single one of you every week, especially Scott, and you want to see Scott. I was talking to one of our graduating seniors this week, and she was like, oh, I just miss seeing Mr. Scott every week, just because he's so encouraging. I get to see him 5 days a week, and I always feel really encouraged, so I definitely want you all to see him at least once. Some of these ally visits have changed days, or at least changed how we're doing them. Some of them, it's still a little unclear because we have to really know where we can meet with you to keep social distancing. And so for like Riverview, where we have almost 20 students, it's going to be at Friday mornings at 10:30, but we don't know where yet. So we'll probably just call you over the overcom, whatever those things are called. Yeah, sure, the comm, and say, hey, all Riverview Upper Bound students come to blah, blah, blah. And you'll go there. So pay attention, yeah, to blah, blah, blah. And so Fridays at 10:30, you need to go see Scott. And McCrory on Thursdays at 8:40 in the morning. So it's no longer at lunch, because lunch is different at McCrory now. Lunch is different at all of your schools. At 8:40 in the morning, you're going to be called to the office probably, and then they'll tell you where to go. For Augusta, it's Thursday mornings at 9:30 in the morning. And again, we don't know where just yet. For White County Centrals, it is going to be as you come in for lunch. So on Tuesday afternoons at 12:05, as you're coming in at White County Central in the cafeteria, look for Scott. And then Bob Knob, Tuesdays, when you go into the Commons and you walk through that line for your second chance breakfast, as you start making your rounds, Scott's going to be there at 9:10 in the morning as well. Sometimes at these ally visits, that's a time for you to turn in paperwork Sometimes that's a really good opportunity for you to say, hey, you know what? I've really been struggling. I think I need to have an appointment with Mariah. Or, hey, algebra's kicking my butt. Chemistry's kicking my butt. I have this history paper and I have no idea what Bacon's Rebellion is. Please help me. Do any of you even know what Bacon's Rebellion is? My heart. I can't even handle it. It has nothing to do with bacon. It's a guy named Bacon, like Kevin. Anyway, you guys don't even get my jokes. We're gonna keep going forward. You all need to know what Bacon's Rebellion is. It's a huge part of the revolutionary history of America. Secondly, you need to do ally visits. So if you're doing them virtually, what is that gonna look like? It's gonna look like Scott checking in. See how things are going. See how school's going, and then seeing what you need from us. Here's the thing about our staff. We have a ton of resources, but we also have a ton of boundaries. So some of you all are very good at letting us know when something isn't going well, when it's like already on fire and you're in total crisis mode. That isn't the best time to let us know. Please don't tell us that you're failing a class and it's impossible to pass it now when you've hit that point. We would rather know if you're like in the C range and you're not learning the information, so we can help you out. So every single week, you have an opportunity to say, hey, I need some help before it's a crisis. Because some of your crises that you all end up in, it's so far gone that we can't always help. If your mental health is struggling, I don't ever want to hear that you're at the place where you have a suicidal plan. I want to know at the place where you're starting to feel a little down. If your grades are starting to slip, I want to know at that first test that you're not confident in, as opposed to in the middle of December or at the very end of April, and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to get credit for this class. That's pretty hard, and we can't always salvage a grade, and we will do our best to help you salvage your mental health, but we want to know ahead of time. And that's one of the points of ally visits, is just a weekly check-in, have our finger on your pulse, how are things going, and then tell us, let us know how we can help you, okay? Agreed? Agreed. Your mentor teachers, that's still a thing this year. I find our Augusta mentor teacher really attractive, as a joke. We think we know who it's gonna be. I'm not gonna actually make a judgment on that person's appearance. I was talking about the smiley face. Just for the record, this is recorded. Because we think it's a guy, so I guess I shouldn't have said that. But I was talking about the smiley face. Yeah, that's it. We kind of have an idea, because Matt House has been our mentor teacher there, but now he's the dean of the elementary school. Woohoo, Matt House! But we're really sad because he's not a mentor teacher anymore. We're pretty sure we have a new one. We just need homeboy to check in with Mr. Scott. Don't ever call him homeboy. I'm moving on. At Bald Knob, we have Kim, who's just the dream. I love Kim. She's still your mentor teacher. All of you actually kept your mentor teacher. We have Bailey, who was in Upward Bound, actually in Upward Bound with Mariah. Wow. Bailey, I taught Bailey as well 10 years ago. She's your mentor teacher at McCrory. At Pangburn, we have Miss Paula. No mentor teacher is an advocate like Miss Paula. So at Pangburn, even if you're doing virtual, you need to stay in contact with her. Jimmy Burnett at Riverview, and then of course Lucia, also in Upward Bound 10 years ago. We love these people. And again, let's say you need help. And it's not like an ally visit has already passed that week, but you're like, oh my gosh, I really need tutoring, I really need something. You can always tell your mentor teacher as well, and they can tell us. You can also tell me. You can tell Scott. You can tell Linnell. You can tell Mariah. You can tell your mentor teacher. You can tell anybody, your tutor, if you end up having a tutor. You can tell any of us, hey, I think I need help. And we're constantly in communication with each other. And these people are actually in your schools. They know what's going on, and they help us help you. So be in communication with them as well. As you came in today, you dropped off your phone, you circled back around, you signed in, you got your pen for the day, and hopefully you also picked up a journal. I think journals are really important. Some of you are just going to use it as like a notebook for class, fine. I like keeping a written record of things. Just last night, every night, and you guys already know this because I feel like I mention it a lot, I don't do that in a conceited way. I think it's a really powerful thing that thankfully as an adult I've learned to do. But at the end of every night, the last thing I do is I write down like bullet points from the day, like highlights from the day, and then the 3 things that I'm the most grateful for that day. This is still on, yeah. The 3 things that I'm the most grateful for that day. And I have, like, it's a 2020 sort of planner calendar, and it's fascinating that of all the years, I've been so disciplined about it this year. And it's a whole book of documenting 2020 for me. And just last night, I was going through it and telling Ashel, like, isn't it crazy that when I pinched these pages, these weeks, all of these have been since like quarantine. And it's wild for me how many highs I've had since then, and all of the life that's happened since then. And I like having that documentation. And it's really empowering for me to be able to go back to certain days that were really awful, days that I really struggled. And then to see that just a few days later, wow, like I had an incredible day 2 days after that. To remind myself, like, hey, we survived 100% of our worst days. We survived 100% of our worst seasons, and I have my own proof. I don't even need anybody to remind me of that. I've done it myself. Not that other people aren't important for encouragement, but it's really nice to see you wrote it and you did it, and it's incredible to me. What do I even say about this? Even the ability to write out your emotions or your thoughts, especially in a time like this, has so much value. There are also things that people say to me, like quotes or words of encouragement, or even how people make me feel, that I want to write down because I want to remember them. So there are times, whether it be something wildly hilarious, there are a few times Mr. Scott will say something that is so funny to me. I write it on a Post-it note and I have it in my office because they make me laugh so much that like my abs are deep down. And they're just so funny. They're so funny. And there'll be sometimes Linnell says really funny things too. I'm not repeating them, but I just need to write them down because they're hysterical. And I want to know that I laughed, and that at least once that day, or I laugh all the time. Or there are times when someone says something that's so like, convicting, that like, just makes me cringe a little because I know it's true. And I know I need to remember that, to humble myself. Or someone says something so encouraging to me, it's just words of wisdom, anything like that. From a mentor teacher, from Mariah, from myself, or an ally visit, anything, any feeling you have, or to draw. Homegirl Lizzie over here is an incredible artist, and so is Trinity. And I love seeing how they doodle and intertwine like art and creativity into their processing. It's awesome. This is just a gift to you. You're never going to turn this in. I'm never going to say, hey, have you done your journaling or your written record? It's not going to happen. This is just a tool that becomes really valuable as you get older. And it's one of those things that I want you to start using now. It's also not just for females. I think there's a lot of stigma against guys who journal. Sometimes I think that's silly. Really silly. I think guys sometimes need it more because they don't feel comfortable to have an outlet for their emotions verbally. So, gentlemen, feel free to write. Now, moving forward. You should have in your folder a student summary of services received. This stays in your folder. This is a whole outline of all of our UB Saturdays that we should have, Lord willing, face to face. See? September 5th, the 19th, October 3rd, the whole fall. Now, the thing about Upward Bound, Harding's really nice for letting us have Upward Bound, but Harding doesn't own Upward Bound. The federal government does. And the government gives us a lot of money to say, hey, bless these kids. So we do it. But there are these things called audits. And the government at any point in any day, literally any day, could come to my office and say, hey, I need proof that you've served these kids. Well, they're not going to go to your schools and interview and ask if Upward Bound's helped you. They want like actual documentation. They want paper. They like to kill trees too. And so you have to fill this stuff out. We're not going to look over your shoulder every Upward Bound Saturday and say, make sure you do this. It just needs to be a part of what you do, of like, hey, this morning I got tutored in this subject, and this afternoon I did this. So if the government ever does come, they're like, yeah, they offer tutoring, and yes, they had a workshop on ACT, or on stress management, or on whatever. It's just important to keep our program. Will we always get audited? Hopefully not, but just in case, we need to have this on file. And we also need to show that we served you. And sometimes you're gonna ask us for letters of recommendation. I write letters of recommendation all the time, especially in the spring when you're applying for scholarships your senior year. And I want to be able to say, this person was really, really active and upward bound, and they did all of this stuff. This is one of those ways that I can prove that, and I can make sure I can go back and say, you know, did they actually come on Saturdays, or did they actually participate, or did they just joke around the whole time? Because I have to be honest when I write those letters too. So make sure that you're filling this out. Also, keep up with your stipend. So we pay you to be here. We know it's not like an insane, crazy amount, but it's still something. It's a snack. And so it's, I don't know, a Blizzard, a Dairy Queen, and some onion rings or something. But it is something. It's a little, again, a little bit of an investment into you. You can withdraw from us, obviously. A lot of you wait until the end of the year, or you wait till the end of a trip on years that we've got to do a trip, which is every year until this year. But your money will add up. Just like this summer, some of you made, gosh, almost $1,000 this summer between work study and your stipend. It was really impressive. The hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. The thousands of dollars is a program we spent out, but the hundreds and hundreds of dollars, those of you who did Summer Academy and actually participated in work study and did all your homework, all the money you got was impressive. We want to be able to bless you in that way too. So keep track of this stuff. When we are not sure, if you say, like, we keep track of stipend for us, but if you keep it in your folder and you're like, hey, I was actually here that Saturday, I just got here 30 minutes late because my car broke down. For some reason, we might have missed that, but if it's in your folder and you have the schedule for that day and you've written it down, then we're gonna give you that money because it was our error. This is your way of holding us accountable. And although we are wonderfully, amazingly brilliant staff members, we're not perfect. And neither are you, so we get to hold each other accountable there. But when it comes to money, the more documentation you have, the better. There's also rows right here for ACT prep. So you can also add in your ACT prep dollars. So let's say this week you go to ACT prep and the next week you go to ACT prep. When you come to Upper Bound that Saturday the 19th, you put those $5 slots in there as well. Yay, money! If you attend ACT prep virtually, that still counts. Okay, so just remember that. Okay. This handy dandy document is the student handbook. It is one of my very least favorite things in the summer to do, is to update the student handbook. Because in my dream world, we wouldn't have to talk about rules and guidelines. We would just all live in harmony together and have a general understanding of what is right and wrong, allowable, not allowable, etc. But it is not my dream world. And we have to have a handbook. One, because there has to be policies. And you're gonna have a handbook in college. Harding's handbook is infamous. You are going to have a handbook in whatever job you have. When I came to Harding to work as a staff member, I had to sign, just like you all have to assign to agree to this handbook. I had to assign, even though I work here, I'm not even a student, I had to assign to a lot of Harding's rules, because every handbook is the culture of wherever you are. If you're in the military, you're gonna sign a lot of documents saying you will and will not do these certain things. That's just a part of adulting. So this isn't a punitive document, it is just, hey, let's make sure we're all on the same page document. Also, don't you guys like our new logo? I love it. Thank you, Ashley. I love it a lot. Here's the thing about this handbook. Scott Liddell and I love each other a lot. in a very professional way, and in a brother and sister in Christ kind of way. And we will sit, typically in Scott's office because it's the cleanest. We'll sit in there, and we will have long conversations about policy. Doesn't that just sound like so much fun? Yeah. Well, here's the thing. With Scott Linnell, it is fun because that's when they say those funny little quotes that I write down. But policy-wise, we've had a lot of powwows in our 3 years of working together. So many, in fact, that we actually have come in our Upward Bound handbook to really love and embrace, because our handbook cannot contradict Harding's, and it cannot contradict the federal government. So we're sort of like walking a tightrope sometimes, and that's okay. We're really smart, we're professional people, we can handle it. We also always have to do what is in your best interest. So this kind of stuff, like the contact information, stay the same. Our rules and regulations, our dress code, our cell phone policy, social media, electronics, all of those policies are identical to last year. Because we thought, hey, we actually were pretty solid last year. We agreed with our policies. They're good policies. None of that changed. I was so looking forward to this year because I did not think I would have to edit the amendment or the handbook for the first time as the director. But then COVID hit. And so we made a decision in one of our little family powwows that our whole handbook is staying the same because we want as soon as possible Upward Bound to go back to normal. We didn't want to rewrite every single section to fit a COVID virtual world because that is not the world we want to live in. So I'm not changing everything about Upward Bound to fit that because that is not the world that I'm hoping for. So we just amended it. So at the very end, you should already know this, there's a 4-page document with this, hey, in such a time as this, these kind of rules also have to come in play. So our rules and regulations, our dress policy, cell phone policy, none of that is changing. All of that stands. In addition to the strict guidelines that we've set. If you have not already watched my 35-minute video on the COVID policies, and if you don't know what I mean when I'm talking about pickles or watermelon or sunshine, then you need to go watch that and you need to fill out the survey monkey. You're not getting stipend unless you do, because it's that important. And that is the only change, that and the bus policy. Again, the COVID-related policy are the only things that have changed in this whole handbook. So we still expect you to be really smart on your social media and to represent yourself well and to not bully other people. I'm going to call you on that stuff. I'm hoping by now you know that. I'm hoping by now you know our dress code and you're going to be respectful and responsible of other people but yourself. The dress code is about honoring yourself. You're going to be responsible about the rules. And you're going to know the stuff that's going to get you kicked out. Don't be dumb. The stuff right now that I care about the most is the COVID. Just to make sure we're on the same page. And you all are pretty isolated in your communities. We're not ignorant to that. And so you are taking, your family's taking, I don't want to call it a risk because that seems too scary of a word, but they're trusting you with us. They're trusting you to come on this campus that has students from 49 states and students from all over the world, and they're trusting for us to take care of you and to keep you protected and to keep you safe, or else they're not going to let you come, and I don't blame them. So we have to enforce those policies because they're for your protection, your family's protection, your school's protection. You're also bringing all your stuff to Harding's campus, and Harding has 0 cases so far, 0, which is phenomenal after 2 weeks of school. For a university this size. I haven't heard of another university with no cases. But Harding's really strict, and so we're going to be really strict too. There is a handbook agreement. We sent it to you. If there's any, and you and your parent has to sign it. We need your parents to have either watched my very cringy, very awkward COVID video that I performed in my kitchen, or to have at least read the handbook, but they have to sign this, and they need to know the policies and the things that we're taking. If there's something on there that you don't agree to, you're welcome to talk to us about it. If you have some kind of medical disability or something that's going on that you want to talk to me about, please do. You can't just not wear a mask because you don't like it on your face. I'm sorry, that isn't a thing. But we're gonna follow these rules, and we're gonna respect each other, and we're gonna need this from everybody. Just so you know, is there anybody who needs a handbook who doesn't think that they have one or they think they need an extra one? Yay, handbooks. Okay. That statement of recommitment, I know you guys turned this in. I just want to thank you for turning it in. You do have to have a parent signature, and some of you I know forgot that, so you just give it to Mr. Scott at our visits. But this is not like to make Scott or Linnell or myself feel good. This is just an investment into yourself. We know, I've started looking at the application to be an Upward Bound. It's like 20 pages long. Every single one of you filled out that packet. Isn't that crazy? You filled out this crazy packet, and then we had an interview, some of you with Lynn Smelter, many of you with Scott or myself, and that's intimidating. I'm all smiley, I'm not intimidating at all. Just kidding. Some of you told me in your interview that you were intimidated of me, which I find wildly hilarious, and hopefully by now you do too. But it's a scary process. And then you come to Harding's campus and you're sitting in this room with all these strangers, and we're giving you all these legal documents to fill out. That's a lot. You've already overcome, to me, the hardest part of being in the program, which is just the beginning unknown. And now it's the time when you actually get to go to college and you get to have an extra experience. And I so pray for my new students from last year. Normally, Summer Academy is what hooks people into Upward Bound, and they love it, and they get to go on an awesome trip. I'm not ignorant to the fact that you didn't get that experience. So for my sophomores and a few of my juniors who joined their sophomore year last year, and you're like, I guess Upward Bound's kind of cool. Summer is the best part of our program, and we didn't really get it. We sort of got it. For those of you who did the evening activities with us, you guys got to know a little bit more than the rest of how cool we are. That was a joke. I'm a really great liar in Mafia, just ask Maddie. Yes, I am. I totally schooled you guys. They don't trust me anymore. But you sort of got it, but nothing like going to Atlanta together or living in the dorms together, playing football, paint football with each other and smearing each other with paint like that. You didn't get that experience. And so I know today, for those of you who were new last year and you still came, I just want to thank you for that, because you didn't get the golden part and you're still here. And I really want us, so much so, to be able to hold to our guidelines, so that when next spring, when I ask Harding, hey, can my kids live on campus? I promise you we can trust them for whatever standards we still have, because they held them all year long. And hey, can I please take these kids on a trip? I want to be told absolutely, because your kids did awesome. So a part of your commitment to yourself is also just a commitment to letting us keep moving forward as a program, so that we can have those really awesome things like Summer Academy, to where it makes committing a little bit easier. But for those of you who didn't get that experience and you've never had a Summer Academy, or for my upperclassmen, and that's why you're in Upward Bound and you were really wanting to go to Dallas and see Frozen, sorry. I get it. We're gonna try so hardcore next year to make up for that. For transportation, some of you may not know Baby Silas. It's Michael and Katie's baby. But that's Baby Silas. If you're like, who's this random kid? Silas. For transportation, only Augusta and McCrory are on the bus this time. If you know you will not be on the bus, you need to tell Linnell. If you're riding the bus, we will not wait for you. 0% waiting from here on out, because you know that, and it's a matter of respect, and it's respecting Larry, who's one of the best people I've ever known. But if you're not there, we're gonna have to go forward. We also you cannot have food or drink on the bus. Zero question. And so if we see it, it's getting thrown away. It just doesn't need to exist. And we don't wanna have to keep having these conversations with you. So just know that is gonna be strictly enforced. That's a Harding rule. And Harding is bending a little to let us have the bus. or else all of you would not have transportation here. And so we're gonna be so strict on that because they're giving us a little bit of grace. And you never abuse grace when somebody gives it to you, ever, ever. That's a life note that if you have your journal in front of you, which all of you do, you should probably write down, never abuse grace. It's not wise and it's hurtful to the people who give it to you. So, we're pretty strict on that. We have this form. We need to know if you're planning on riding the bus. If you're one of our other students who used to ride the bus and you don't get to anymore, and you're starting to get concerned that you can get here, please communicate that to us. We don't want transportation to be the reason you cannot come upward bound. Also, communication on this form that we sent out. Your communication to us and how we communicate with you is vital. So vital, especially in a virtual world, and especially, Lord forbid, we do not go virtual again. But we really need all of you to be connected either to Facebook or Instagram or Remind. We need your email. We need to know what you prefer. We need to know how to reach you. Always. Some of you, the only way I know how to reach you is through an email that you never check because you don't have a cell phone and you don't have social media and you're not in the Remind group and your parent isn't in the Remind group and truly you never check your email, so then I'm just left with snail mail. That doesn't work, especially nowadays. So we have to work something out. So you got this. We need to know. We also need to know what kind of connection you have. So if we go virtual again, do you have a Chromebook of your own, or is it the school's? Do you have reliable internet access? Do you not? We need to know how we can best help you because we need to know what resources you have. So if you're doing Zoom, are you always doing it from your phone or do you have a computer? Just all this crazy important stuff. We never thought we'd have to ask it, but here we are. We're asking, and we need you to be super thorough, okay? I keep thinking I can click with this. I can't, it's a laser. Joke's on me. When it comes to anything that might change, so in an ideal world, if it were my dream world, I would love all of you to either be on Facebook or Instagram. Some of you don't want that, that's fine. Some of your parents won't let you, I understand. But then you at least need to be in the Remind group, if at all possible, or your parent does. We will not inundate you, but we need to at least post enough. And sometimes there's gonna be videos that I post like this one, of like how to get here on Saturday. A lot of you clearly watched that. I cringed so much when I watched it, I couldn't even finish watching it because I'm the most awkward person I've ever met in my life. I'm really sorry you have to live through watching my videos. Hopefully that will never happen again. But sometimes we're gonna have to give you updates. That's okay. We're gonna live with it, but we have to be able to contact you. So how do you get in the phone group? Or we need your phone number, how do you get in the Facebook group? You add me or Linnell on Facebook. Ta-da! Instagram, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go through it. Okay, so add myself or Linnell, and then boom, we'll add you to our Facebook group. It's quite easy. And that is the group picture from last year because this summer we didn't have a group picture. Sad. Instagram, we have a very creative name, HU_upward_bound. Ta-da! We were trying to be as active as possible. We were a lot more active in the spring. But we will give important updates, okay, all the time through both of these. And then the Remind app. This is Linnell's wheelhouse for sure, not as much mine. But the Remind app will just send you a text message like anything else. And so if you're not in our Remind app, or you got a new phone number and you need to update it, we can definitely help you do that. 100%. Just talk to Linnell and she'll tell you the information that you need. Okay, recruitment. We will be at all 6 schools starting September 18th. So the day before our next get together. September 18th, we're gonna be at Riverview. The following week, we're gonna be at the other 5 schools. And we're talking to all freshmen. I know that a lot of the freshmen, about a quarter of the freshmen are doing school virtually, and we still want Upward Bound to be available to those students. So they are gonna get a cringy video. I just thought about this. I'm so awkward in videos, guys. I don't think anybody's gonna want to be an upper bound if they see me that way. It's fine. But we'll work it out. I'm gonna figure it out. Some of you though, I might shoulder tap so you can talk and sell upper bound instead of me. So I might be like, hey Tori, do you want to be recruited to recruit for Pingburn? Or hey Maddie, do you want to be recruited to recruit for Riverview? Or hey so-and-so. And just like a, hey, this is why I love upper bound. You don't have to do that. But for the students who can't be there face to face, we still want them. So if you have incredible friends who you're like, oh, they should totally be an upward bound. They want to go to college. You guys, they have to want to go to college. They cannot just be a nice person. I love nice people, but I hate when nice people don't want to go to college and they're an upward bound. So this is how we keep our job. Like every year, we have to have enough students go to college so that we can have upward bound another year. So we're an awesome program, but we're not for everybody. We're only for kids who want to go to college. And only for students who either come from a lower income family or whose parents didn't go to college. That's okay. But they have to qualify, 100%. Some of you are only sitting here. Last year, 110 students picked up applications last year. That's a huge number. We had 18 positions. We ended up taking 20 because I cried all the time and I couldn't narrow it down. But there are some of you sitting in here legitimately only because someone advocated for you. We had 32 incredible interviews last year. And to go from 32 kids and whittle it down to 20, you can ask Scott and Linnell, I cried about it. And Scott and I every day would come into work and we would write this list of okay, these are the kids we would take today. That list changed every day throughout a week. So much so that some of you we went back out and talked to again because we're like, oh, this is so hard. It is a hard job recruiting because this is such a competitive program. It's competitive because it's awesome. We do awesome work. You all do awesome work. And we don't take it lightly. And so we want, last year, there were some siblings of you all who we didn't even take. You know how hard it is to tell your brother or sister no? Still gets me emotional, actually. It really does. It's really hard to do. But we're going to try to take the best of the best. But you all know these students. You know these freshmen and these sophomores. So we want you to tell us. Encourage the people who you think would be awesome in our program, who we could really help and they would really help us. We could have an awesome relationship. Encourage them to apply. All freshmen will get that opportunity. If they're sophomores, they're not going to hear us talk. That's going to be all you. And we are open to recruiting a few sophomores, definitely not all, but a couple. We'll take a couple. Some of you, we took as sophomores. You should feel really special because typically we don't do that. And it's extremely rare for us to take a junior. Last year, I think, was the first time we did that. So I want you all to sell this program and to also talk to us about the kids you're encouraging to apply. Yeah, Catherine.
What time will you be going to the
Riverview, I think, I have to look at my calendar. We're splitting our presentation at Riverview. We're doing 2 presentations. We're splitting the freshman class so that we can social distance in the auditorium. And since I have such a great calendar, since I'm so organized and I keep my life on my calendar, as you all should, we will be at Riverview at 10:30 in the morning is the first recruitment. And then we'll do half the freshman class at 10:30 and then half of them right after that at 11. I know that for my seniors this year who were taken in by Katrina and then Smeltzer prior to Scott and I coming on board, hopefully now you feel like family and that Scott and I love you and we believe in you and you're like our children. I hope you have that experience. The rest of you, my juniors, my sophomores, and some of my seniors, we chose you, 100%. We sat down, talked to you, either one-on-one or two-on-one, and we got to know you and your stories. We read your files, we've talked to your parents, we've stayed in contact, and we care about you so much. And this new class is gonna be no different. We're just strengthening our family and adding to our family. And I remember being really overwhelmed my first year because I was like, oh, it's gonna be so many years until I feel like this is like my program. It was before even the end of that first year. I don't have to have chosen all of you. Scott doesn't have to have chosen all of you. But it definitely is something that we do not take lightly, the responsibility of choosing. And we want help. So I want you to recruit. I also, if there are concerns that you have about someone, if someone applied and you're like, hey Stephanie, that person's really a bully, and they only talked about wanting to do this so they can go on a trip. That kind of stuff we want to know, and it's important for us. We also stalk. I am the best. I should work for the FBI. I am so good at like Facebook stalking and like all that stuff. I'll get on there, and if people are like on paper look good, but on their social media don't, they're not getting in. We're gonna be picky, but you all can be part of our pickiness and help us recruit. We want every single one of you to at least get an associate's degree, at bare minimum. Your goal is to get a bachelor's degree, at least. I keep pointing at this, expecting to see it back there. Doesn't work like that. Need to keep my brain, it's really struggling. Some of you are gonna end up working on your master's, like Mariah. Some of you are gonna have your doctorate. And Upward Bound, no matter where you end up on this ladder, is gonna be a part of that story, which is so cool. This morning I woke up to the news that Sarah E. Madrano, she was in Upward Bound. She came to Harding. I also taught her, and she just started law school. She's going to the Bowen School of Law at UILR, and I love that. She's gonna be doing her doctorate. And she was in Upward Bound just like you. And for so many of you, some of your parents didn't even graduate from high school. And you're sitting here on the footsteps of going on to college and going on to do incredible things. On that October 24th, Upward Bound, one of my favorite students ever, I had her 8 years ago on Upward Bound, and then she came to Harding, and I was her boss all 4 years during her time at Harding. And she started her doctorate in pharmacy, and she decided, you know what, pharmacy isn't for me, so she's switching and getting her doctorate in public health. Her name is Kennedy. She's gonna be our speaker that day, because she's totally been way down here not thinking she'll ever be able to do all this stuff that her family never did. And now she's working on her doctorate. And I'm so proud. And she's not an isolated story. I guarantee you there's gonna be a day when I'm gonna say, hey, so-and-so, hey Kinsey, hey Tori, hey Marlon, hey Angie, hey Leah, I need you to come talk to Upward Bound and share your success story. That's so cool to me, and very, very important. Normally on a Saturday, I know that this is all pretty weird. Normally though on a Saturday, you'll come in here, you'll come through the door like you did. We're gonna have tutor time. During part 1, you'll have Mariah's group. Part 2, you'll have my Saturday sit-downs. We'll have lunch, and then we'll usually eat outside, like today. In the afternoon, we'll have workshop. So talking about food, I know one of like the best parts about Upward Bound is like the CAF and getting to eat in the student center and all that kind of stuff. We do not know. We have very strict rules for today. We will keep you updated on what can happen in the future. And this has a lot to do with Harding's policies and also Harding's numbers and keeping everybody safe. Okay, so today's lunch is a little bit more strict than normal, but again, it's because we want to be together, and I'm really wanting us to be on campus during summer academy. So I'm not going to disobey any of Harding's guidelines they've given us, not yet, not unless they tell me I can. So today, we're going to go, you're gonna wash your hands. All of those little blue bottles you got, those little blue tubes at your desk, that is actually a spray alcohol, spray hand sanitizer. So you spray it and it cleans your hands. That's awesome for when you can't actually use soap and water, or if you're driving and you just pump gas That's disgusting on your hands. Clean your hands. Spray your what's it called? Steering wheel. I about called it a windshield wiper. That is not a windshield wiper. Steering wheel. But that is a little alcohol spray bottle. You spray it, you don't drink it. Just so you know. I want you all to understand that I know that this isn't ideal. We're going to go to the CAF together. You cannot eat in the stew today. We're gonna all go together. All of you will get to-go boxes. All of you will choose everything you want to eat, because we're not coming back in the CAF. So you just fill your to-go box. People will be filling it for you. It's not self-serve. That's true for all of Harding. And then you'll get a styrofoam cup for your drink. I'm kind of crying for the environment. Trust me, I already have my little internal fit. And then we're gonna all go outside to our outdoor classroom at Harding. It kind of looks like this. It is on the other side of the front lawn. We have it reserved, and it's just a really cool, beautiful space on Harding's campus. And when weather is nice, we'll eat out there, and we'll hang out for an hour, and then we'll always come back to this room. There is no roaming around campus today. You don't get that freedom today. I'm hoping we'll get that freedom soon. Here's the thing, if one of you gets sick, I have to know at all times who you came into contact with and who you were within 6 feet of. I have to know that legally. That's crazy. So in my dream world, it's nobody. And we keep our distance, but I have to know where you all are. It's my legal responsibility. For the Arkansas Department of Health, my agreement to all 6 of your schools to let you come here, because you're bringing all of this back to your school, and my agreement with Harding, and my agreement with your parents through that handbook. So, we're gonna go to the CAF, Linnell will lead the way, and then you're gonna get your to-go box, and then we're gonna go eat in the outdoor classroom, and we'll all come back together. In the CAF, there's stations and stuff spread out like normal, and we'll just slowly make our way to the outdoor classroom. You'll sit. We won't go out here if it's ever like raining or a blizzard or if it's freezing outside. We'll make other accommodations. But they've asked us to not eat in this room, so we're really trying to respect that as well. At your desk, you did have a lunch ticket. You need to actually sign it. Harding used to get all of their food from a company called Airmark. They were our catering and cleaning service. Now we use a company called Chartwell's. So the food is different in the CAF. I do have to tell you that there's no more Yarnell's ice cream. I know, gosh, I know guys, I know, this is the worst part of the day. I don't know, I haven't been in there. I don't know anything other than there's edible food. So I just had to forewarn you. I do not know anything that's in there. I have not been in the CAF. I have no idea. You can keep asking. If it, take chicken on a trip, it starts with a C, but I don't know if it's in the CAF. So I just respect this today, and don't make me say, hey, come on, stay over here. Like, just don't make me enforce rules. I really hate that. Just do it. Just follow it. That's a lot nicer. You get a lot nicer version of me. We will meet back here. You can take your phones. It's 11:18, so you're getting a little bit more of a break. But we will meet back here. We're all going to be together, so it's not like you're ever going to separate. You cannot like sit in Heritage and hang out. We will all be together the whole time. But we'll come back here at 12:30. Linda. Shooters, if you're joining us for lunch, you don't want some lunch chicken as well. And Linnell's going to lead the way.